Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to the first session of the weekend, of course, practice one for the 2022 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys, by the way, are doing well. No matter what time it is in your part of the world, no matter what part of the world you are from, hopefully you're having the best day so far you could possibly be having, given whatever circumstances you are going through. And of course, in 14 minutes from now, we're going to be getting to practice one, a session that honestly is going to be pretty tricky for the drivers because, I mean, obviously first session of the weekend, grip on the track is going to be low, and obviously it's a street track, so grip is always lower on a street circuit, but there is quite a gust here in Baku. Definitely like a 15 to 20 mile an hour type of wind. So that is definitely going to hurt some of the drivers out there today. And it could lead to us seeing a lot of accidents, not just in this session, but practice two as well. And also, if it does continue for the rest of the weekend, it could be a very, very, very tricky weekend to keep hold of the cars. With, you know, how the wind is playing a factor. Has played quite an important factor here in the past, the wind and the low grip conditions. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, hopefully all you guys are doing well. Hopefully you'll be able to join me today in watching along practice one. If you can't watch the session along with me, then, you know, because you're busy at work or something like that, and you're only able to listen along, then don't worry, I'll make sure to keep you up to date with everything that goes on in practice one. Also, this is quite a common occurrence with me. I know my voice sounds a bit deeper. It's because I have a slight cold, which is because I've just woken up a lot earlier than I'm used to. So I'm sure that'll clear, hopefully, through the day. So just bear with me, at least for this stream when it comes to that. But yeah, another 12 minutes, and then we'll get on to practice one. I'll just move on to the pictures that will be guiding you through the watch-along part of the session. The pictures, unfortunately, are going to be from what we saw yesterday at the track, because, of course, we've had no running so far. For practice two, though, I will make sure to get the cars up on screen, you know, the cars from practice one. But I want to quickly, if I can, by the way, hello to Dylan Forrester on the chat, who's just posted the first comment there saying, hey chat, it's good to see you. Just want to get up quickly a tweet from Toby Grunner, who is one of the, you know, probably one of the best reporters out there when it comes to reporting on F1 stuff, and he has come up with his usual list of upgrades for all the teams. So I just want to quickly show that on screen. So let me just quickly get that up. Here you go, and I'll just click here. So here are all the tech upgrades for all the teams in Baku. Mercedes, front wing flaps, mirrors, rear wing flap, that's for them. Red Bull have a front brake cooling, floor stay and floor edge. Ferrari have rear wing and mirrors. A lot of people, by the way, have, you know, new types of rear wings because obviously they're trying to cut off the drag for that very long and fast final sector and pit straight as well. And yeah, the McLaren rear wing have also bodywork cooling and front wing flaps. And then Alpine have side pod inlets, rear wing flap, beam wing, and front wing flap. AlphaTauri have front wing flaps and beam wing. Aston Martin and Williams have nothing. Alfa Romeo have front wing flaps and rear wing. And Haas also have nothing. So those are the upgrades for the teams this weekend. And most of them, I'd say 95% of them are just you know, specialised parts for this Grand Prix only. You know, a new rear wing, say a thinner rear wing to, you know, cut some drag off, stuff like that. So it's not really a ton of, like, permanent upgrades, I would say, for this Grand Prix. But, yeah, definitely going to be some differences, put it that way, on the car. We'll see if some of the teams, if they're, drag cutting devices, I guess you could call it, if they do work enough here in Baku. But, oh, the timer's reset. I need to quickly just deal with that. So let me just quickly reset it. Just a second. And there you go. Yeah, we're about 10 minutes to go, I think, till practice one. So, yeah, sorry about that. But other than that, there's not really, what do you call it, that much news coming into this session from the, driver interviews that took place earlier today. I'll just quickly have a look at race fans to see if there's anything on there. Obviously, we've had some further reaction to the FIA president's comments about how he was quoted saying that, Niki Lauda and Alain Prost back in the day would just drive and they wouldn't do anything, any campaigning for social issues or anything like that. But now these drivers do this, and that. And obviously, that got a bit of criticism. And now, obviously, he's had to retract what he said. And Hamilton and Vettel, I do know, have come out and said that they're going to continue, doing what they do, regardless of what he had to say. Also, Daniel Ricciardo, confident of a turnaround in form. He says it's not as far as it seems, which not sure about that. To be honest with Daniel Ricciardo, I don't really... If we're going to see a turnaround in form, it's probably not going to be until probably the British Grand Prix, which is in 3 weeks from now. Because normally at Silverstone, Ricciardo is pretty competitive on a yearly basis. Even the last 2 or 3 years where he's been driving, slower cars than he was, obviously, for Red Bull, he's been still pretty competitive at Silverstone. I think 1 year, in one of the races in 2020, he qualified 5th or 4th, did Ricciardo. So, yeah, he's always been very competitive there. So, I think, if he can keep up that good speed around Silverstone, but maybe bounce back a bit in terms of his overall form, then you never know. Ricciardo might get a very good result for the team. But one thing that isn't helping Ricciardo is the performance of the McLaren. I mean, it's not terrible. It's a lot better than it was at the start of the season, but they still have a lot of things to work on, do McLaren. Their straight line speed is still quite poor compared to basically every other team. And that's probably the main reason why McLaren are so slow at the minute. Or, they're so far off the pace where I thought they would be in 2022. If they had the straight line speed, equivalent of what Mercedes, the Mercedes Works team now have, McLaren would be competing with Mercedes every single Grand Prix for, say, the third best team tag. But they're not at the minute, and the reason is because McLaren lack a lot of straight line speed compared to Mercedes. If you look especially in Barcelona, at the speed traps, McLaren were pretty much at the bottom or near the bottom, and Mercedes were quite a bit faster. So McLaren, they do have, from an aerodynamic standpoint, they do have a fast car and a good car in that aspect. But when it comes again to straight line speed, they are struggling quite a bit at the moment on that. And that is what is the main reason why McLaren is still kind of just a midfield team rather than an upper midfield team, or a team that's not that far behind Ferrari and Red Bull, who are of course are the top 2 teams. But we'll see what they can do with a lower drag setup this weekend, and whether it can help their straight line speed, because it is cutting drag off that McLaren car has got to be at the moment the most important thing for them. But we have 6 minutes to go until we get going. Just going to quickly blow my nose, and then I'll be back in just a second. There you go. Hopefully that should be better for the next few minutes or so. But yeah, hopefully with Daniel Ricciardo, hopefully we can see, some improved performance by him. But yeah, quickly before we get into the session, I'll quickly just get into what I think the performance pace-wise will be for all the teams. I would probably say for a single lap, for lower fuel quali pace, I'd say Ferrari are most likely to be the quickest because of their speed in the middle sector. And then Red Bull second, but I do think Red Bull in the race will be very, very competitive and very, very hard to stop. And then Mercedes most likely third, Alpine fourth, and then fifth, Alfa Romeo or McLaren. It's going to be very close as well with Alpine in there, but I think Alpine are going to have a particularly strong weekend here in Baku. So yeah, Alpine fourth, Alfa Romeo, and McLaren fifth and sixth. Don't really know who to go for out of those two. Maybe I'd lean more so towards Alfa Romeo because they have the better straight line speed, but we'll have to see what McLaren can do this weekend to try and combat that. And then after that, you'd probably say AlphaTauri, and then Haas, Aston Martin, Williams, which of course those bottom four there, that's the current order in the championship. But yeah, that's what I expect the pace or the pecking order to be, from the top down. And certainly, even though I think Mercedes will be the third quickest team, it's not going to be, they're not going to be clearly the third quickest team. They're going to still have to really fight to get that third quickest team tag, because like I said, I think Alpine are going to be pretty quick, and we could see a surprise. Valtteri Bottas could put himself right back up there. We know he's very good in Baku historically, so it's going to be still tough for Mercedes to, if they can, get a third row lockout, for example, in qualifying, or finish, fifth and sixth in the race. It's going to be still pretty hard because they've got some very quick cars around them, I think, for this weekend. But just to update you, the air temperature in Baku, 26 degrees Celsius. Track temperature is 43 degrees. So it is very hot, but there is a wind of about 10 kilometers an hour. So yeah, that could catch out the drivers certainly today, but we'll see what happens on that front. But in about a minute or so, I'll get rid of the timer, and then we'll get to setting up the graphics for the watch-along part of the stream, as a few fans in the grandstands waiting for the beginning of the session. And yeah, quite a wind at the track. By the way, again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Hopefully you're all doing well. Everyone tuning in. And make sure as well during the stream to post your comments in chat regarding, any Formula 1 topics. And I'll make sure to respond when I can. But anyway, let's get rid of this. And this as well, and I'll just get all of this up. So of course this running order is just the stock one, and then I'll get the timer ready as well. Of course, if you didn't know, practice sessions are 1 hour long, and if there is a red flag at any point, then the timer keeps running. When obviously in qualifying, if there's a red flag, the timer stops. So we'll be underway in probably about half a minute from now, as we're just looking at on the TV screen of Carlos Sainz, who is ready by the looks of it to come straight out on track. And so is, by the looks of it, Max Verstappen, who of course is leading the Drivers' Championship. You might not think it after, of course, the last Grand Prix in Monaco, where his teammate Sergio Perez was the star man of that weekend. But Max is still leading the Drivers' championship by 9 points from Charles Leclerc second. And yes, Sergio Perez now third and only 15 points behind. As, yeah, some Verstappen fans, well, no, not Verstappen fans, I think McLaren fans, they're in the crowd. There is a Verstappen fan in the crowd as well. And, yes, session should, I don't know if this session has officially started yet, but I can't see a timer on the TV broadcast as of yet. But no, so there you go. The session has officially started. I'll make sure to sync up the timer in about 45-50 seconds from now. I'll just quickly adjust this picture. No cars, by the way, on track as of yet, so don't worry, we're not missing anything. Just trying to get Lewis Hamilton here on screen a bit better. There you go, that's a bit better. And we do have cars now coming out onto track. A few cars, Ferrari cars, Mercedes cars, McLarens, as they all pile out onto track, hopefully for more than just an installation lap, because in these conditions, we might be seeing these conditions for more than just one session, so they need to find out what the car feels like in the windy conditions, and there you go. So it's all synced up now, and it's, yeah, 59 minutes to go here in practice 1. And, yeah, we're just looking at Valtteri Bottas, who's out there on the medium compound tyre. And he's just coming through the castle section. Hopefully, like I said, he'll start a lap in a minute. The only cars in the pits right now are the 2 Red Bulls of Verstappen and Perez, Magnussen, Albon, and Russell. And I'll just quickly give my nose a blow again, and then be back in a second. Right, there you go. That should be good for the next few minutes, as we're currently looking at, I think, Max Verstappen, who's just come out onto track, and he's on the, no, Sergio Perez, who's just come out onto track, and he's on the medium compound tyre. I can't remember what the compounds they've brought for this weekend. Let me just have a quick look on Twitter to see what compounds they brought to. Let me just see what Pirelli have brought for this weekend, because obviously is important. Tyre wear definitely is important in Baku, but it does obviously depend on the tyre that they have brought. So it's the C5, C4, and C3. So it's the softest compounds they possibly have. So if this heat keeps up for this weekend's Grand Prix, then tyre wear is going to be very, very important. Certainly in the, obviously, middle sector where all the corners are. But Vettel saying on team radio, a lot of wandering down the straights with the steering. That might be to do with the wind, I'm not sure. But he does begin, Sebastian, his first... does he begin his first lap, or has he done his first time lap? I'm not sure. But, yeah, with the heat we're seeing that we could see all weekend, that's definitely going to be an important factor. And if anyone has to start the race, for example, on soft compound tyres, or they do decide to, I should rather say, because obviously they don't have to start on any tyre, they don't want to these days, then it's going to compromise them, certainly, in the Grand Prix, even though it might give them a bit of benefit on a first or second lap. As Fernando Alonso is just travelling down the second DRS straight between turn 2 and 3. But he didn't have the DRS open. But I certainly, like I've been saying with Alpine coming into this weekend, I would not be surprised whatsoever if Alpine were, one of the surprise quick teams, because I think they've got a very good car for this type of circuit. As just trying to update some of the order, as it's obviously, times are already being set. Esteban Ocon has just gone up to first position. Now Ricciardo has in the McLaren, as I think Lewis Hamilton is about to cross the line. Don't know if it's well, it is a decent lap. It puts up to second place, but I'm not actually sure what the lap time is, because unfortunately, they're not currently showing what the lap times are. But it is Norris up to first, not anymore. Now Charles Leclerc, who is up to first position. And yeah, when it comes to qualifying trim this weekend, as soon as I say that, I was going to say that Max Verstappen goes quickest, but I do think Charles Leclerc is the favourite for pole position this weekend. Yeah, Verstappen up to P1. And you've got Sergio Perez in second, Charles Leclerc third, and then Lando Norris in fourth. Quite a big difference in lap times at the moment. And yeah, Max Verstappen quickest on a 1:48.5. That is very much way off the pace from what we're going to see in qualifying, of course, tomorrow afternoon, as Lewis Hamilton is on another time lap on the medium compound tyre. Yeah, it's currently Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, and then Valtteri Bottas is up to fourth. Well, not anymore, because Pierre Gasly is up to third for AlphaTauri. Then it's Leclerc fourth, Carlos Sainz is fifth, Bottas sixth, Norris seventh, Lewis Hamilton in eighth, or he was eighth. Now Daniel Ricciardo goes up to fourth. Hamilton down to ninth. Fernando Alonso in 10th, as Lewis Hamilton has done an improved middle sector. Let's see what he does when he comes to the line. DRS wasn't open, I don't think, as the Mercedes car porpoising quite a bit down the straight. Thankfully, they've fixed it a bit, as Mick Schumacher has gone down the escape road at one of the corners, and it looks like his car's broke down. Yellow flag in sector 2, so that probably is... That looks like that's turn 5, possibly, I think. Yeah, it looks like he's broken down there. Virtual safety car has come out for that, so drivers can stay out on track, but they'll have to go, a bit slower than the normal and stick to the delta, which will be good practice for Sunday, because of course, and they're showing a replay, and yep, a lot of water coming off the floor there. So might be a leak there internally with the Haas car there. I think that's probably what is the problem there. And yeah, Mick Schumacher sadly having to get out of his car, and that is him done for the session. Obviously needs a big weekend, does Mick Schumacher, but he won't be getting it at the minute because his car has already failed him. So we'll see him again for practice 2. And remember, practice 2 is in about 3 hours from now. But yeah, just going to quickly do the rest of the order. So Magnussen is 11th, and then you got Albon in 12th, Zhou in 13th, and then Tsunoda 14th, Nicholas Latifi in 15th position, and then Ocon 16th. Russell in the Mercedes only 17th for now. He's only on his outlap. I think Russell was probably affected a bit by that virtual safety car coming out for Mick's car. Vettel is 18th, Stroll 19th. They're both on a soft tyre at the moment, which is a bit surprising, but obviously not pushing that hard at all. And obviously Mick Schumacher now 20th, and he won't go any higher now that he's out of the session. Dylan Forrester in chat says, by the way, the green flag has now come back out, so we are back underway officially. Dylan Forrester in chat says, while I don't necessarily agree with Hamilton or Vettel, they do have the right to do what they think is right, as long as it is not damaging the sport in any way. Absolutely. And I think I said last night in my preview, which, by the way, if you, any time today where I'm not streaming, because obviously I'm streaming 2 more times today, if you're bored at any point, then make sure to go watch my preview from last night for this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. But I said in that stream that as long as, people who are campaigning for what they believe in, as long as they're not interfering in a bad way with the democratic process in their own countries, or they don't actually believe what they are promoting, then I don't see a problem with it. I understand why people might be like, well, we want to, when we watch Formula 1, we want to watch Formula 1, not a political protest, but you don't have to watch that stuff, and plus it doesn't affect the actual race itself. It's not like they're doing a protest mid-race. As Max Verstappen, by the way, now we're back underway with a green flag, has just done a purple first sector. Of course, he's already in P1 on the medium compound tyre. The 2 Ferraris in 5th and 6th place are both on the hard compound tyre. So, Ferrari not quite pushing as hard as Red Bull so far in this session, as Verstappen is now coming through turn 13 and 14, coming up to turn 15. Very easy to lock up and go wider into the barriers there. And we did actually see last year in practice 3 Max Verstappen go deep and go into the barriers there, as he's now coming through the kinks of turn 17, 18, 19 and 20 onto the very long pit straight, and he's done a purple middle sector as well, so he's going to go even quicker than he has done previously, as Lando Norris has just gone up to 3rd. Fernando Alonso just went quickest for Alpine, but Max Verstappen made sure to go back to the top with a 1:46.9, 1.5 seconds clear of the Alpines. It's Verstappen, Verstappen, Alonso, and then Perez. As that's a replay. That's what the yellow flag in Sector 1 was for, I think, or Sector 2, for Lewis Hamilton going deep at turn 4 by the looks of it. And that's a replay of Lance Stroll. As I was saying, on turn 15, very easy to hit the barriers. And he clipped the barriers on the exit of turn 15. Of course, I think he crashed there, didn't he, in qualifying last year. He's had a few, even though he's normally been very quick here, Stroll, in the past, he's also had a few accidents here. The Ferrari there on the exit of turn 15. The rear end stepping out, and he almost clapped the barrier, or the Tech Pro. So that was a nice hold from him, as Perez has now gone 2nd. Charles Leclerc, even though he's on the hard compound tyre, has done a purple middle sector, but it's Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, and then Sainz is up to 4th. Let me just see what Leclerc does as he comes to the line. And Leclerc goes up to 2nd as Verstappen on the radio says wind is pretty insane. And yeah, it is. There's definitely a steady wind out there for the drivers. So it's Verstappen from Leclerc, Perez, Alonso, and then Carlos Sainz is now up to 5th. And yeah, Leclerc getting as close to the exit barrier of turn 15 as you dare. Wouldn't want to get any closer than that, or else he'll probably end his session. So nice hold and nice driving there from Leclerc. And Yeah, so Sainz is 5th, Gasly is 6th, Lewis Hamilton is 7th as Kevin Magnussen comes to the line and improves his lap time, but stays actually in 9th place where he has improved up to. Tsunoda, though, is 8th, and then, yeah, it's Magnussen in 9th. Ricciardo is 10th, Norris 11th, and then Ocon is 12th for Alpine, as Charles Leclerc, on the hard compound tyre, has done a purple first sector. There's a yellow flag in sector 2 for some reason. Looks like it's a Haas car on the looks of it. Unless that's just Mick Schumacher's one on the tracker there. Or if it's Latifi, I think it might be actually. That's Leclerc. Has done a purple first and second sector. And he's now got a toe. Very nice slipstream. Down to the line. And does he go quickest? Nope. He misses out by, 600ths of a second, as there's now a virtual safety car for Latifi. We haven't actually seen, though, what's happened to Latifi. There you go. He's gone deep, I think, at the same point where Mick Schumacher broke down, or one is close to that. His car looks to be overheating quite bad. I'm not sure if that's what the problem is. His brakes definitely overheating quite a bit. That looks to be like another car problem rather than a crash. And Latifi, yeah, looks as though he's broke down as well. But yeah, Ocon is up to 12th. Here's a replay of Latifi, and he, yeah, some sort of problem, and pulls off on the entry to turn 5. Turn 5 and 6, those two. It's kind of like a chicane, that those couple corners. And yeah, maybe a similar issue to the Haas of Mick Schumacher. But yeah, Vettel is 13th, and you got Bottas 14th, Albon 15th, Latifi is 16th, but he now is, by the looks of it, out of the session as well. So, yeah, don't think he's going any further than where he is now, as they're trying to push him down the escape road. And Mick Schumacher, yeah, I think Mick Schumacher also was pulled off at that point as well. So that's 2 cars down the escape road. And obviously all the other teams, now that we've had 2 cars break down, a Ferrari power unit car and a Mercedes power unit car, obviously the other teams are going to be a bit concerned about that, and they'll be wanting to make sure that everything on the data is looking all okay as they go to an ad break. Do Sky F1, so they'll be back probably in about 2.5 minutes. And hopefully when they're back, we're back to green flag conditions, which I think we will be. I mean, if we get a yellow flag because of a crash, then most likely that's going to cause a red flag, because of course it's a street circuit. So yeah, red flags happen a lot here. I remember, I think, was it 2019? Remember that I did, I think it was this stream that I'm about to reminisce about. I think this was the first stream where I had 1,000 or more viewers. It was the 2019 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I think it was late April 2019. And the qualifying stream, I think, was the one where I got over 1,000 live viewers for the first time. Of course, I've done it a few times since then. And I remember that session, that qualifying session, went on like an hour more than it normally does. Normally qualifying is an hour long. It went on, I think, for about 2 hours. That qualifying session, because we had about 3 or 4 red flags, and 2 of them took ages to clear, because I think Kubica and Leclerc crashed at the castle section. So, yeah, qualifying, I mean, yeah, it's normally an hour long, but in Baku, it can be double that. And I think even last year we had a very long qualifying session because of, I think, 2 or 3 red flags. I think we had 2 in Q1. I think Stroll and Giovinazzi caused red flags in Q1 last year. So, yeah, Baku can be very messy, no doubt about it. But as we're on an ad break, I'll quickly blow my nose and then we'll come back in just a second. Right, there you go. That should be better. And I'll quickly go to Twitter to see if there's any news regarding what, the reason Mick Schumacher broke down. Apparently for Leclerc, he's had a new turbocharger and exhaust system fitted for his car. Let me see if there's any other... Actually, let me go to Haas's Twitter to see if they've already posted what the problem is. Let me have a look. Mick has had to pull off the track due to an issue with his car. Haas say it's a suspected pressure leak. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So maybe it won't be too big of a fix for them. Hopefully. Because like I said, Mick Schumacher does need to have a he does need to have a good year. Does. Oh, not a good year, he needs to have a good weekend. Does Mick. Needs to... I mean, I don't think Haas are going to be that competitive this weekend because normally in the past, Haas have never really been a competitive or a strong competitive outfit in Baku. So as long as he can out-qualify and out-race Kevin Magnussen, I think that's good enough. And if it does turn out, that turns into a points finish, then that's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, needs to, needs to start improving his performances. But we are back from the ad break, and green flag obviously has already come out, so the session is back properly underway. And let me update some of the order quickly. So it is still Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Alonso, Sainz, your top 5. And then Gasly, 6th, Hamilton, Magnussen, or Tsunoda, Magnussen, Ricciardo. The order is exactly the same, so I think the green flag must have only just come out. Sergio Perez, though, who is currently in 3rd, is on an improved lap. Max Verstappen, I think, has improved his time yet again by another half a second, as Carlos Sainz has gone up to 4th, and Lance Stroll, I think, has just gone up to 16th. He has. Pierre Gasly now goes up to 4th, as Sergio Perez goes up to 2nd, just over half a tenth down on his teammate Verstappen. Charles Leclerc on the hard compound tyres done a purple first sector, but he's not improved his middle sector, so this will probably keep him in 3rd place. As he comes to the line, as Russell goes up to 12th, and Charles Leclerc does not improve his lap time. And yeah, Russell is up to P12 in the Mercedes. Zhou is in 19th, is still going pretty slowly. Yuki Tsunoda now goes up to 5th. Of course, AlphaTauri here last year were very competitive. Gasly was on the podium and I think qualified in 4th place. And Tsunoda, I think, finished 8th or 9th here in the race as well. So yeah, very competitive AlphaTauri were in last year's Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and hopefully they can keep that up to some degree. As we're now looking at a Red Bull of Max Verstappen, who looks as though he's coming into the pits, and he is. So Verstappen on the medium compound tyre comes back in and is still in P1, as we're just under halfway through practice 1. And they do a practice pit stop, and what tyres do they put on? Well, just intermediate tyres, because obviously they're going to come back into the pits. Or come back into the garage, sorry. As Ferrari look as though they're also about to do a practice pit stop. with Carlos Sainz, I think it is. As we're now looking on track at Lewis Hamilton, who looks as though he's possibly winding up for a quick lap. As he's just exiting the castle section. And yeah, Lewis Hamilton currently in 9th position and Russell in 12th. We're not yet at the point, though, where we can really look at where Mercedes are in this session and say, well, they're not doing good enough, they're doing good. They're surprisingly quick so far or anything like that, because I don't think anyone or everyone is running as close to the limit as they could. As Lewis Hamilton now exits the final real corner, which is turn 16. And loses the rear end slightly on the exit of that corner, but it looks as though he's now beginning... Is he beginning his lap? Well, we'll see. I don't think he is, actually. No, he's not. So, most likely, yeah. Most likely coming back into the pits is Lewis Hamilton. And he is. We've got everyone actually in the top 8 is actually in the pits. And I've just noticed that Esteban Ocon is now up to 8. So Alpine, 7th and 8th. Good session so far for them. And yeah, Hamilton 9th, Magnussen 10th. And let me just make sure all the rest is correct. And it is. So your top 10 is Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Tsunoda, Sainz, Alonso, Ocon, Hamilton, Magnussen. As Leclerc there is in the pits on his hard compound tyres. And looks like he'll be coming out in just a moment, as there's some work going on the Aston Martin there of Lance Stroll. And I think I pointed out in my preview with a couple of stats that Aston Martin, obviously last year, had an amazing Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel finishing 2nd in the race. And when they were Force India, they were always very competitive here. And even when they were Racing Point in 2019. So this has always been a great Grand Prix for them. I think the reason there's work going on to the right rear of Stroll's car is because, yeah, he clapped the barrier on the exit of turn 15. As here is Kevin Magnussen winding through. I think, yeah, to start a lap is K-Mag. As he opens the DRS and now heads down to turn 1. The car porpoising a bit, not as much as it maybe would have done earlier in the season, but still porpoising a bit. He's on a soft compound tyre. Again, reminder, we have the 3 softest types of compound for this weekend. So, definitely, when we get to the race on Sunday, if it is this hot, tyre wear will be very, very important. And remember as well, the race will be starting about 12 p.m. UK time. So about 28 minutes ago is when the start of the race will be. So if it is this hot at this time of day in 2 days' time, then yeah, that's going to be a very important thing to look out for in the Grand Prix itself. As Kevin Magnussen has done an improved first sector, he's only about 0.4 of a second down on Max Verstappen. We'll see what he does for the middle sector. The first sector is important to a certain degree, but the middle sector is really the sector where you, can make the most time. And obviously the final sector is very important, but that's down to either just good straight line speed that you just have with your car, or a very good slipstream down to the start-finish line. As Magnussen gets as close as you dare to the exit of turn 15, the barrier's there, and he's 1.2 seconds down on Max Verstappen. Slightly lost the rear end on the exit of turn 16, but the wind is still playing a big factor in this session. And now, flat out through turn 20, and now to the line he will come. And Magnussen will probably improve his lap time. And he does, and he goes up to 7th place from 10th. So, a good time there from Magnussen. Obviously, everyone not pushing as hard as they will do in practice 2 later. But also, I think the wind is playing a factor in these slower lap times. It's definitely, in certain corners, the faster corners, say the medium speed type corners, they're definitely not able to push as hard as they could. As Gasly on Team Radio saying the ride is pretty shocking. I have never felt that much bouncing or bottoming, he says. The same thing, bouncing. So some porpoising problems there at AlphaTauri. Hopefully they can fix that. That's one thing. I mean, if you're a team this weekend that, is suffering quite bad with that, you're not going to have a good time because obviously in Baku, it can sometimes be a race of attrition. As Alex Albon goes up to 9th place in the Williams. Yeah, it can sometimes this race be a race of attrition, so you don't want your car falling to bits. And it might only be 51 laps, but because it's, a 1 minute 45 per lap in the race, the lap times, it is a long race, a race in Baku. As we're now looking at, I think, Lando Norris, I think this is, in the McLaren, who is down in 14th position, and he's on the soft compound tyre. Ran wide, though, at turn 16. So, if he is starting a lap, he's already messed it up a bit. And, yeah, Gasly also at turn 16, turning in, and I think the wind just blowing him a bit off there. The thing is, though, yeah, it is windy, but it's the same for everyone. So if people do start crashing, then I am going to be honest and say that, certain drivers should be doing better because, like I said, it's the same conditions for everyone. And these drivers are definitely good enough to be able to deal with, 10 kilometers an hour of wind. As Daniel Ricciardo, it was we were looking at, and he's started his laps on the soft compound tyre. And we'll see what he does for the first sector as he comes through turn 4 and into the first sector time beam. And he is about 0.3 of a second down. So, good first sector for Ricciardo, that. About 1/10.5 quicker than Magnussen was for the first sector. So, yeah, good sector so far. Valtteri Bottas also being timed. Let's see what his first sector is like. A bit better than Ricciardo, about 1/10.5 quicker. So that's a good first sector there for Valtteri Bottas. As Ricciardo comes up to the rest of his lap. Just want to say, though, quickly, for anyone watching who is new to the channel, don't forget, I'll be live 2 more times today. I'll be live at 2:45 PM UK time, which is in about 2 hours and 10 minutes from now, for the Practice 2 watch-along for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And then I will be live again at 8 PM UK time this evening for a qualifying preview. So if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. As well, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And don't forget as well to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. As Ricciardo and Bottas are about to complete their laps, Ricciardo goes only up to P11 with that lap. A bit disappointing there. As Fernando Alonso goes back up to P7. Valtteri Bottas currently in 16th place, but I think he's about to improve his lap time by quite a bit. And he does. And he goes up to 11th place himself. So Valtteri on the cusp of the top 10. There was a yellow flag whilst I was plugging my channel there. And it was Lance Stroll, who I think went deep at turn 4, turn 5-ish. And let's see here at turn 4. And that was, well, quite a pathetic mistake. He didn't even lock up. He just forgot to turn. I'm not sure. But yeah, it just went deep at turn 4 and had to quickly reverse out. But with, what do you call it, pretty much 25 minutes to go here in practice 1. Max Verstappen, out of the, the front 4 there, is the only one on track right now. Don't know what tyre he's on. But the current top 10 is Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Tsunoda, Sainz, Alonso, Magnussen, Albon, and Ocon. And let me just make sure the rest of the order is correct, as I noticed that Russell is actually 14th. And then, Norris 15th, and then Vettel, Stroll, Latifi, Zhou, Schumacher. And Max Verstappen is out there on a set of soft compound tyres. So this should be an improvement from Verstappen of probably about a second, I would say. And his quickest time so far is a 1:46.4. So, should probably be doing at worst, mid 1 minute 45 of this time. And 6.5 tenths of a second. He is up on his previous best first sector. And he now comes through turn 7, now into the castle section of turn 8, 9, 10, 11. And gets through it absolutely perfectly. Now to turn 12, which is I have to say, very satisfying corner to drive on the F1 game. And by the way, I hope you're all excited for the F1 game, because obviously it comes out on, is it the 1st of July? I think for the standard edition. I think the what's it called, the deluxe edition or something like that, comes out on the 28th of June, which I'm definitely going to be getting because I want to be playing it as soon as possible. But hopefully you guys are excited for that, the F1 22 video game. As Verstappen has done a purple middle sector, and he's 7 tenths of a second up on the lap so far, as his rear wing is bouncing up and down quite a bit down the straight, and he's not done an improved final sector. I think that's because he ran wide a bit at turn 16, but he stays in P1 and goes still quicker than his previous best onto a 1:45.8, but I think he could probably improve by 3 or 4 tenths there on that run. And the bouncing of the rear wing when the DRS was open, that is a bit of a concern for Red Bull, because that is a bit excessive. And, that could easily cause, a breakage or bits of rear wing to fly off, which obviously at that speed, when there's cars behind in the race, you do not want, because that could seriously hurt someone. So I think they might have to fix that, and maybe even the FIA will have a word. Verstappen on the exit turn 4 there got very close to the wall. And that Red Bull rear wing really bouncing quite a bit with the DRS open. As Lando Norris himself is on an improved time so far. He's done an improved first sector. I noticed that Fernando Alonso is up to 4th, as Lando Norris is second down of Verstappen, who is obviously quickest. So Norris will probably go up to 4th place with this lap. Will the Brit, obviously last year, had a pretty good, I'd say, Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Finished in 5th place in the Grand Prix. Wasn't too far away from a podium. He actually goes 6th as Norris. Not a great final sector, but we'll see what he can do this weekend. But it's Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Alonso, your top 4. And then Tsunoda is 5th. And then Lando Norris is up to 6th position. And then it's Gasly 7th. Sebastian Vettel has gone 8th on the medium compound tyre, apparently. That's a very good time for Vettel there, when everyone else now is, doing their times on soft compound tyres. And then it's Magnussen 9th, and Carlos Sainz, I believe, is in P10. And then it's Albon, Ocon, Bottas, Ricciardo, Hamilton, and then Stroll, Zhou 17th, Russell 18th, and then Latifi 19th, Schumacher 20th. Of course, Latifi and Schumacher won't be doing any more running because they both broke down. As Carlos Sainz, who is in 10th place, is on an improved time. Let's see what his middle sector is like. He's on a purple middle sector, which is not a surprise because that's where the Ferrari should be at its best. but he might not have enough in hand in this final sector to go quickest. So this will probably put him second fastest, as Sergio Perez is actually 2/10 up on Verstappen after the first two sectors. So Sainz heads to the start-finish line now. Let's see where he goes. And it is. It's second place. He lost a quarter of a second in that final sector. And if that is what happens in qualifying tomorrow, as Perez goes quickest by almost 3.5 tenths of a second. But what I was saying there with Sainz is, if that is the case in qualifying, that Ferrari is losing that much time in that final sector, then no matter how good they are in the middle sector, Red Bull will have the upper hand. Because the Red Bull isn't as good as the Ferrari in the middle sector, but it's not terrible. It's still, within a decent margin. As Perez on the exit of turn 15 got so close to the barriers. How he didn't clip the barriers, I have no idea. But that is literally the closest I think you could get to it without hitting it. If he did hit it, it must have been the slightest clip. Thankfully got away with it. So Perez is rewarded by getting that close to the barriers by going quickest. Now we'll see what Charles Leclerc can do. Can Leclerc go any quicker than teammate Sainz? Leclerc still fourth, even though his best time so far on the hard compound tyre. As Leclerc begins his lap, he's already into turn 2, and the Ferrari looks very good. But in this first sector, it's pretty much equal, I would say, between the two top teams, Ferrari and Red Bull. Just noticed that Russell in the Mercedes has gone up to 8th place on the soft compound tyre. So let me just update that. So Russell up to 8th, and then Gasly 9th, and then Magnussen is 10th. As Leclerc has not done a purple first sector. Not the biggest surprise, but the middle sector, as long as he aces this bit, it should be a very good middle sector for him if he utilises this Ferrari car well enough. As he now comes through turn 13, 14, the kinks. Down to that turn 15. There's a car ahead, blocking him. Oh, dearie me. That was quite poor from the Mercedes there. And that will, I think that was Russell. And he's still done a purple middle sector, but he was definitely held up by a few tenths of a second there. And Leclerc will probably now come to the line and go, at best, third. Maybe stay in fourth. But yeah, it was definitely held up quite a bit by the Mercedes there into turn 15. And Leclerc comes to the line and goes, third. Only slightly behind Max Verstappen and a couple tenths of a second clear of teammate Carlos Sainz. So clearly, Red Bull and Ferrari way, way ahead of the rest of the pack. And here's a replay of Leclerc locking up on the entry, I think, to turn 4. Is inside front. Kept the tyre rolling, though, so it wasn't that big of a lock-up. And here's a further replay of, I think, the Red Bull's rear wing and it closing. As now Sky F1 go to an ad break. So, just over 15 minutes to go in practice 1. And let me just quickly read out the current order. So, Sergio Perez is currently quickest from Max Verstappen in second, Charles Leclerc third, but Leclerc definitely can go quicker and was held up quite a bit on his quickest lap. Carlos Sainz fourth, Alonso fifth, Tsunoda sixth, Norris seventh, Russell eighth, Gasly ninth, and Magnussen 10th. And then the rest of the order: Vettel, Zhou, Albon, Ocon, Bottas, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Stroll, Latifi, and Schumacher. Definitely with Ricciardo and Hamilton, they can definitely go a lot quicker than that. Don't think they've quite used the best of the track up yet in terms of grip. But we'll see what they can do in this final, 15 minutes or so. Just trying to look on Twitter to see if there's any news. So apparently Charles Leclerc's power unit, because they're putting a new couple parts, by the looks of it, it's a mixture of the first power unit that started the season and the new updated power unit that I think they brought to the Miami Grand Prix. Which means he doesn't have an only Friday power unit, so I doubt, and Tammy's on Twitter is saying, so I doubt Ferrari's using a lot of engine power. I mean, Ferrari and Red Bull definitely, they will be the teams that are probably sandbagging the most on a Friday practice, because they know they're the two quickest teams. They don't know what order, but they know they are the two quickest, so they don't need to go, too mental with the power. But normally, on a Friday, Red Bull are slower on a Friday than Ferrari are. And then when it comes to qualifying on a Saturday, I mean, Ferrari have been very good on a Saturday so far this season, of course. Ferrari had pole in Bahrain, Melbourne, Miami, Spain, Monaco. But Red Bull do tend to be closer to Ferrari and sometimes quicker on a Saturday compared to on a Friday. So I think Red Bull tend to back off that slight bit more than the Ferrari do, which is what we saw last year as well, where I think Mercedes, a lot of times last year in that championship fight, well, Friday practice days, they would be quicker, but then when Saturday came around, Max Verstappen would show this amazing turn of speed. So, yeah, I think, well, the top two teams for sure, yeah, definitely backing off quite a bit compared to what they can do. I mean, the pole position times should be like 1 minute, 40, 41, 39-ish in that bracket, and we're currently the drivers currently quickest on a 1 minute 45, so they are quite a bit off the pace for what would be considered, remotely quick for Saturday. So yeah, not quite pushing as hard as Sky F1 are about to come back from their ad break, so that is good. And yeah, 13 and a half minutes to go. And let's see if the order is any different as they come back. And it is, as Charles Leclerc, as soon as they come back, goes straight up to second place. Purple middle sector. Did not improve his final sector. But he is up to second, and he's only a tenth of a second slower than Sergio Perez. So it's Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, and then Gasly is up to fifth for AlphaTauri. Let me just do that. Yeah, Gasly's up to fifth. Lewis Hamilton has now improved up to sixth place. And then, as we're seeing a replay of Lewis Hamilton actually, and crossing the pit entry line, which apparently the drivers can do this weekend. Apparently the race director notes they've been told that they are allowed to do it as long as a full tyre doesn't go over. So if it's, most of a tyre, then that's fine, which is a bit of a revision of the rules about, the entry and exit lines of the pits from Monaco. As usual, the FIA, cocking it up. But Lewis Hamilton goes fifth for Mercedes. So he's just ahead of Gasly by a couple tenths of a second, but still 1.2 seconds off the pace of Sergio Perez, as Carlos Sainz in fourth place is on another flying lap. But yes, Hamilton fifth, Gasly in sixth, and then Yuki Tsunoda is in seventh place, Alonso eighth, and then Russell is up to he was up to ninth, he's now up to eighth is Russell. So Russell eighth, Alonso ninth, and then Norris 10th. Sainz has done an improved first and second sector, so we'll see what he can do in just a moment. And the rest of the order is, I think, as it was, as here comes Carlos Sainz down the pit straight, bouncing quite a bit. And Sainz comes to the line, and he goes actually slower than his personal best by about 0.03 of a second. So Carlos Sainz stays in fourth Trying to see if my order is correct, and it's not quite. The bottom of it is, I think, now correct. Yeah. So with 10 minutes to go, it's Perez from Leclerc second, Verstappen third, and then Sainz fourth, Hamilton fifth, Gasly sixth, Tsunoda seventh, Russell eighth, Alonso ninth, and Norris in 10th. I think one thing we can say, which is not a surprise because we knew Mercedes would not be that competitive this weekend, but Mercedes definitely, in that fight in the midfield with, the other midfield teams. They are nowhere near the pace of Red Bull and Ferrari. There is no doubt about that. But like I said, that wasn't a surprise for me coming into this weekend as Vettel there. Unhappy about some traffic there on the exit of turn 6. Yeah, not surprised. The Mercedes car, down the straights, they've improved the pace of the car. They've cut a lot of drag off that they had, I think. I think they had some excessive drag on the car in the first 4 races, which is why they were, so much slower at those races. But, down the straights, Mercedes are fine. But there's no fast corners here. And obviously the fast corners is now where the Mercedes is at its best in terms of cornering. In Baku, there is no fast corners. They're all medium speed and slow speed corners. So they were never going to be competitive this weekend. As Valtteri Bottas, we're now looking out on the TV broadcast. He's currently on a new flying lap. He's down in 17th place. Needs to improve from there, of course, as he's about to complete the first sector. Car drifting slightly on the exit of turn 4. And first sector is actually quite poor. He's quite a bit off the pace in that first sector. His teammate Zhou is up in 13th, but still 2.7 seconds off the pace. I really hope the Alfa Romeos aren't that slow. But Bottas now through the castle section looks fine to me. We'll see what his middle sector time is looking like in a moment as Yuki Tsunoda goes up to P6. As Tsunoda's good pace we've seen so far this season continues. And 6th and 7th for AlphaTauri. If you saw what they were like in Barcelona, as Bottas has done an improved middle sector, but it's still very slow. Really, this will probably put him up to probably 11th or 12th place with Valtteri Bottas, which is okay. But with AlphaTauri, after Barcelona, you would not have expected them to be as quick as they were in Monaco. I know, obviously, they didn't get any points, but they were, in practice, they were very, very quick, and they definitely deserved a better result than what they got, as Bottas actually goes 14th. With the pace they're showing this so far this weekend, it's definitely much improved. As Russell in the Mercedes improves up to 7th place. And Lance Stroll will quickly see him across the line before I update Bottas. And Stroll goes up to P11 in the Aston Martin. So it's Stroll up to 11th and then Magnussen 12th. Vettel 13th and then Zhou. Bottas 15th and then Albon, Ocon, Ricciardo, Latifi, Schumacher. Of course, Latifi and Schumacher out of the session. And with 7 minutes to go, the order that it is on my screen is the correct one. Let me just update this picture a bit better so you can see it. There you go, it's a bit better. As we're looking at Lewis Hamilton saying, on Team Ready, you need to remove this something. I couldn't actually catch what that said, unfortunately. But clearly unhappy. But he is, at the moment, the quickest driver at Mercedes in this session. As I pointed out in my preview last night, this has not historically been a great Grand Prix for Lewis Hamilton. He's only had 2 podiums in 5 races in Baku. And when you consider the great cars or the great team he's been driving for, that is still pretty poor. Not necessarily down to himself, of course, all the time. But definitely last year was down to himself. And obviously 2016 as well. The first time here in Baku, he cost himself what could have been the win after hitting the barriers at the exit of the castle section and breaking his suspension. as Lewis Hamilton is wheeled back into the garage and probably won't come out again. So that's him done for practice 1. But yeah, 5th place is realistically the best he's going to get. So can't really complain too hard. As we are looking at an Alpine, Fernando Alonso. Don't know what his sector times are looking like, but I'm sure we'll see in a moment. Yep, we'll see now. He's done an improved first sector as Alonso. So has Ocon, his teammate. Hopefully Alpine can end the session well. Alonso, funnily enough, is 9th on the medium compound tyre. I mean, obviously he's doing a lap down the soft, but his best time so far on the medium, and only or less than a second off Hamilton. So, I mean, if there's a second to be gained, 1 second to be gained from medium to soft, then Alonso could go up to 5th place here with this lap. Let's see what he does. His middle sector time is slightly quicker, I think, than Lewis Hamilton for the middle sector. Ocon has done a decent middle sector as well. So both Alpines should put themselves firmly in the top 10 with this lap. As Alonso opens the DRS now, cuts slightly the pit entry line, and comes to the line and goes, no, only 8th. Not a great final sector there for Fernando. Esteban Ocon, though, goes from 17th up to 10th. So 8th and 10th for Alpine. That's still a decent start to the weekend if they do finish in those positions with 4 minutes to go in practice 1. So it's Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Russell, Alonso, Gasly, Ocon. So, yeah, already looking as though we've got kind of a pecking order forming. Obviously, the top 2 teams, Red Bull and Ferrari. And then Mercedes, AlphaTauri and Alpine. Looks as though the top 5 teams are at the moment. Obviously, that could easily change in practice 2, practice 3, or qualifying itself. Obviously, qualifying is where it really matters. Let me just move this back in focus, as we're now looking at an Alfa Romeo of Valtteri Bottas, who is beginning what's probably going to be his final timed lap of practice 1. Down in 16th place is Bottas. Surely can do a lot better than that. He does have a good record around Baku. He was on the front row for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 2017, 18 and 19. Actually, was he in 2018? Don't think he was actually in 2018, but he was in the top 3 in qualifying, I know, in 2018. But 2017, of course, he finished 2nd with a brilliant drive from the back of the field. Obviously, safety cars did help, but there you go. As there's a yellow flag in sector 2. Someone's had a moment, I think, on the exit turn 15. Looks like an Aston Martin. It's Pierre Gasly. And he's got going again, so he's probably gone down the escape road and reversed, most likely. I think that's what's happened there. Yeah, Bottas, finished 2nd from the back here in 2017. 2018, should have won, but his tyre blew up because of debris on the track, which should have been cleared away. And then 2019 produced a brilliant weekend to get pole position and win the Grand Prix, and beat Lewis Hamilton in a fair fight as well. As Bottas, 1.9, basically 2 seconds off the pace so far on this lap. This lap will probably put Valtteri up to P11, which is, much better than where he is, but still not great, I'd have to say. As he now heads down to the start-finish line. Got to say, the Alfa Romeo, when it comes to porpoising, definitely one of the better cars out there. But he does not go 11th, he goes 15th. Alfa Romeo look as though they're going to end the session 15th and 16th. Are they going to continue that poor form we saw in Monaco? I really hope not. I mean, they weren't terrible in Monaco. They still finished in the points with Valtteri Bottas, but it was a lot worse than we expected. As, Gasly. Just a replay of him locking up into the entry of turn 15 and locking the inside front and then going deep and then having to spin his car back round. Nice getting it back on track there from Gasly. As here is Yuki Tsunoda who I think is on a lap in the AlphaTauri. We'll see if he opens a DRS. And no, he doesn't. So he's not on a proper quick lap. As we've got less than a minute to go now to the end of practice 1. We've got Lance Stroll on an outlap, Sainz and Hamilton on an outlap, but I'm pretty sure those drivers won't be able to complete their outlaps before the checkered flag comes out. And here's a replay, I think, of Sergio Perez, some of his best moments in the session. And obviously, looks as though he's going to end the session in first position. And looking very good, Perez, after practice 1. And definitely has a great chance of winning this weekend. I mean, if he can win in Monaco, a track where he's done well in the past before this year's Monaco Grand Prix, if he can win there and beat Verstappen in qualifying and the race itself, then here in Baku, where Perez, this is probably Sergio's best track on the calendar, he can absolutely win this weekend. And if he does win this weekend, and say Verstappen finishes second, then the gap in the championship will go down to, I think, 8 points. And Perez will probably overtake Charles Leclerc in the championship if he wins this Grand Prix. In fact, I think he will, unless Leclerc gets the fastest lap, if that does happen on Sunday. But here at the end of practice 1, it is Perez who ends quickest, with Leclerc second, Verstappen third, Sainz fourth, and session not quite over yet because Fernando Alonso, I think, is the only man out there on an improved time. He's done an improved first sector, so we'll see what he can do here at the end. Into turn 15 he comes. Very nice run through turn 15. Now to turn 16, and he is looking very good for the middle sector. Loses the rear end, though, slightly on the exit of turn 16, and that will affect his run all the way down to the start-finish line in terms of his speed. It's the Red Bull there, I think, of Perez or Verstappen. It might be Perez, actually. Went deep, I think, at turn 15. But Alonso comes to the line. Will he go quicker? He does. He ends the session in 5th position. So Fernando Alonso looking great for Alpine. And Alpine looking definitely very competitive this weekend. Both cars in the top 10, and Alonso is best of the rest, about second or 1.1 seconds off the pace. And it's actually Max Verstappen who went deep at turn 15. Let me just see a replay of it now before we get to calling out the final finishing order. And, well, he's very lucky there. Did he hit the barriers? I'm not sure if he did. He spun at turn 15, but I'm not sure if he hit the barriers or not. No, he didn't. He was very lucky that the rear end snapped around quick enough for him to not hit a barrier on the exit of turn 15. Then he spun around, complete 360, and got going again. Good job by Verstappen. Yep, that is the end of the session, and I'll just quickly read out the final finishing order of practice 1. Sergio Perez ends up quickest, Charles Leclerc second, Max Verstappen third, and Carlos Sainz in 4th, and then Alonso 5th, Hamilton 6th, Tsunoda 7th, Russell 8th, Gasly 9th, and Ocon 10th, and then the rest of the order: Norris 11th, Stroll 12th, Magnussen 13th, Vettel 14th, Bottas 15th, Zhou finishes 16th, and then Albon, Ricciardo, Latifi, and Schumacher. That is your final finishing order for practice 1. I'll just quickly see if there's any comments in chat I can read out, and I don't think there are. But guys, make sure to join me for practice 2, the practice 2 watch along, which starts at 2:45 p.m. UK time. That's an hour and 40 minutes from now. Make sure to join me for that. And practice 2 definitely will be a very, very important session for the teams and drivers. So like I said, don't forget to join me for that. And as well, don't forget, I'll be live later tonight at 8 p.m. UK time to do a qualifying preview for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend. Yeah, don't forget to come along to those streams. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And as well, don't forget to smash the like button, share this video and channel everywhere you can. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. And as well, make sure to join my Discord server, link below in the description, for more content like this. And make sure as well to join our growing community here when it comes to Formula 1, of course. But yeah, until my Practice 2 stream, guys, until then, it has been me, Chazzer HD. Goodbye.